Welcome to Silver Pro, sponsored by SD Bullion. I'm your host, Yankee, and I'm joined by my wonderful co-host, Silver Dragons. How you
What's
doing, man?
up? I'm doing great. Super stoked for
Yeah,
this topic, government silver confiscation, right?
I know. Yeah, we're going to tackle a interesting topic. In fact, a lot of people might not know about the silver confiscation that occurred back in 1934, but we're going to cover all that. So Franklin Delano Roosevelt, back in 1933, passed Executive Order 6102
Yep.
to basically bar citizens from owning more than $100 in gold coins.
It would have been 5 of the double eagles, right?
Yeah,
So it would have been around 5 ounces, a little bit less. But
right.
then after the devaluation, it would have only been around 3 ounces, which is kind of crazy to think about.
I know it is. And they were told that they had to bring the gold back to a bank.
But there were some exceptions.
Yeah, it wasn't all gold. I mean, rare gold collector coins were exempt. Gold jewelry.
Dentistry was another exception.
Yes. Gold
So,
and dentistry. Yep.
but for the most part, pretty much everyone was supposed to turn their gold in, and
Yep.
the punishment was pretty intense, right?
$10,000 fine, and that's like $500,000 in today's dollars. I mean, that's a lot of money back then.
Yeah, and then also up to 10 years imprisonment. But they did pay people for the gold. What was it, $20.67 or something per ounce?
That's right. I think it was highway robbery by the government, even though they paid him, because the next year was $35 an ounce, and it just went up from there.
Isn't that weird though, that back then, because the dollar was tied to gold, they could literally set the price for gold in dollars. They could pick whatever they wanted. It's so much different than today when it's traded in, what we think is a free market. Same with silver.
Yeah, supply and demand, right.
Exactly. The government doesn't just say this is the price for gold, this is the price for silver, but they did that back then.
And it really boils down to the reason why they did it in the first place. Remember, in 1933, they were in the midst of huge deflationary depression, okay? And gold was tied to the currency. So the only way they had at that point, or at least they thought that was the only thing they could do, is we got to devalue the dollar, create inflation, and get out of this mess. So that's the impetus. That's why they did that gold confiscation.
So that's a really interesting point. I mean, they didn't really have a lot of ways of causing inflation because they couldn't just print money like they do today. It wasn't a fiat system. So they needed more gold so that they could devalue the dollar, cause inflation, and get them out of the depression. It's so crazy.
Well, let's not forget, too, it was also to spend money on social programs. They wanted to federal government spend, right? So that's why.
And the same today.
Yeah, right. Okay. And guess what, SD? It worked. It worked big time. By 1951, the dollar's value had declined almost 70%.
And then it was the very next year that they did silver, correct?
That is correct, 1934. Yep.
So walk me through what was the rules around silver, how much did they take, all that kind of stuff.
So basically they told all the citizens and companies that owned less than 50,000 ounces of silver that don't worry about it, you don't have to turn in your silver, okay? But those with more than that, they had to.
So you'd have to have been a heavy stacker, but probably, to get over 50,000 ounces, that's insane.
Yeah, they were after the big boys, SD, the big bullion owners, the COMEX silver traders. They even put together a list of people and companies that they thought had more than 50,000 ounces. Hoarders of silver. That was the name of the document too. It's funny. Yeah, hoarders of silver.
I would love to be on that document. I mean, that is if you could get to that status where the government is saying this person is a hoarder of silver, I would wear that like a badge of honor. So they got all of the silver, and they wanted it for a different reason than they wanted the gold.
They
right?
got over 100 million ounces of silver. The biggest difference, I think, between the executive order for gold and the executive order for silver around the exceptions was that they didn't require you to bring in any circulating silver coins or foreign coins. So like the dime, the quarter, the half dollar, the silver dollar, all exempt.
So you could have had 100,000 ounces of silver in Morgan dollars, and you would not have had to turn them in.
Nope.
Interesting.
Nope. This is also interesting too. So, we mentioned jewelry, art as well. So your lovely silver art that you put together as silver dragons and pour, exempt. Yeah, look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Yeah.
Ripples, baby. Come on. You don't got to turn it in.
Yeah, you don't have to turn it in 1934. Right. Okay. The biggest difference, though, is why they did it in the first place. They needed to mint more 90% silver coins for circulation. That was the reason.
So they took the gold because they wanted to make more dollars, and they took the silver because they wanted to make more coins. So they just wanted to expand the currency supply, really.
That's the history. So the question really is, could it happen today? Should we be concerned? Number one, this is the freaking government we're talking about. I don't trust them worth spit. They'll do anything they want. They will pass whatever law is in their best interest, not in the best interest of their citizenry. That's maybe my jaded opinion, but that's the way I feel. So I don't trust them.
And the thing is, too, people look at this and they say, okay, they've done it before. Obviously, they could do it again, but do they have the motivation? There's going to be things that take place, sort of warning, signs. And the first one, well, we can get into it a little bit later, but the first one I think is going to be that they take away cash. Once they take away cash, then you're thinking, okay, what's next?
What's next? That is a concern. Now, there's a whole bunch of things I want to cover about what to do, how to be prepared, what to watch for. But first, I think it's important for us to just talk about why I really don't think we need to be overly concerned. It's not relevant anymore, silver and gold, like it was to our government and to the general public. I mean,
yeah, that's the whole thing, right? Silver and gold they were money, but they were also our currency.
Yeah, good point.
So that's the distinction, right? They still are money now, but they are not our currency.
So everybody back in 1933, if you stopped them on the street, they probably had a little bit of silver, maybe even some gold in their pocket.
Right.
Now, nobody has silver and gold, really.
Exactly.
You could go into a bank with a silver certificate, right? And you could literally put that dollar down on the counter at the teller, and they would give you $1 worth of silver. It's amazing.
Right. Or gold, too.
Or gold, gold certificates. It's incredible.
So, now they don't need gold. They don't need silver to inflate the dollar for whatever, social programs they want to do. But they don't need metals for that. They can literally just push a few buttons, on the computer screen and boom, create more money. They don't need the metals anymore for control. They don't need them. And they're going to be focusing more on a digital currency. This is the opposite of metals, right?
It also brings us to the next point. It's not practical to do a modern day confiscation. Can you just imagine the logistical nightmare of like, okay, everybody bringing it to what? The banks? Where are you bringing your silver?
And it's in everything now. It's not like back then where they didn't have, computers and solar panels and cell phones. All those things exist now. So what, I got to rip the solar panels off of my house and take them down to the mint? It's not going to happen.
I think the last thing, too, is there is an insignificant amount of silver stackers in our country. For them to go after such a small demographic, to me, is just, again, not practical.
And the last thing, it's not necessary, right? They don't need the metals. Our metals used to be money and our currency. They're still money, but they're not our currency anymore. So they just don't need to do it.
They want to steal our wealth. They do it indirectly through taxes, inflation. That's theft right there of our purchasing power.
That's the big tax.
That's the big one. Or what if they did a bank bail-in like they did in Cyprus back in 2013?
They have complete control of your bank account. They could pull all the money out of your account if they wanted
Your
to.
digital wealth is at risk, and I believe far sooner than anything related to metals. But it doesn't mean we shouldn't prepare, right?
Well, don't broadcast that you have precious metals. Don't make YouTube videos about all your gold and silver. Oh, wait
a minute.
That's what we do.
Hold on. Do it anonymously if you have to.
Yeah, don't show your face and those things. Try and keep it as secret as you can. But let's talk about what would happen. Some of the signs that would be like, okay, maybe they are going to confiscate our gold and silver in the future. And let me be clear: the reason I think they would do it in the future is not the reason they did it in the past. They're not going to do it because they want to back the dollar by gold or silver, anything like that. The reason that they would do it, in my opinion, in the future would be because they don't want people making transactions that they can't see. They want to have eyes on every transaction, have full control, be able to tax everything. So people buying and selling things with cash, crypto, and metals, they could crack down on all three of those in the future. So the first thing we would see is obviously they would stop their bullion programs, right? They're not going to be selling gold eagles and silver eagles right before they confiscate them, correct?
They'd have to change laws too, right? I mean, we've got laws right now that say just for what the U.S. Mint is required to do by Congress.
Yep, you got to make enough eagles to fill demand. Not only do you have to make enough eagles to fill demand, you got to be making gold coins and things like that. So yeah, they would have to change those laws.
And you hit the nail on the head. Cash. There's a war on cash going on, and CBDCs are going to be the first attack. It's going to come gradually, and I think crypto will also be attacked as well because it's going to be competitive, right? To a
and it would be, in my opinion, it would be that order. It would be cash first, then they go for cryptos, Bitcoin, Ethereum, whatever. They block the on-ramps. They don't let people access it. It's for your safety. It would be some ridiculous law with some name, but it's really just going to be taking away your freedoms. And so after cash and crypto, then I think they would go for metals.
Is that when we read about a rash of boating accidents?
Yeah, I mean, really, to pull it off, they'd have to go door to door, and it'd be crazy. But I wouldn't put it past them.
No, I agree. I started off the whole thing by saying I don't trust the government one bit. So you're right. Nothing is off the table with them. And that's why I think from a political standpoint, we need to be active, push for policies and laws that support sound money, that removes the tax burden from converting your fiat dollars to precious metals. I love Citizens for Sound Money, c4sm.org. Check them out.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I'd say for me, I don't necessarily think it's going to happen. I'm not worried about it at all right now. Right. I'm much more worried about the government stealing my wealth in less obvious ways.
Absolutely. That's my bottom line too. Be worried about what the government's doing with your other wealth. Well, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time on Silver Pros.
Stack like a pro.